Hey man, as Patrick Bateman once said, I'm here to return some videotapes.
Alright, let's see what you got here. Superbad, good choice. This is a really funny movie. I didn't know this came out on DVD.
I don't know, I just saw it on the shelf.
Oh, I thought this was still in theaters.
Oh.
Well, do you want the anniversary discount?
Anniversary discount?
Have you not seen the posters? On December 1st, it's going to be the 10-year anniversary of Move Out Video. I still remember when my dad opened up the store all those years ago. We were kind of scared that the Hollywood video down the street was going to run us out of business since that's a bigger chain, but after 10 years, we're still here.
Cool.
Yeah, so anyways, you want the anniversary discount?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, let me ring you up and... hold on, man. I need to take this call.
Okay. I'll just sit here.
Move Out Video, this is Matthew speaking. How may I help you?
Hey, I'm calling to let you guys know that I'm able to pay off the late fee this week. Sorry I haven't, it's just I've been really busy with school.
Wait, hold up. Aren't you Braylon from last week?
Yes, that's me.
I don't know how to tell you this, man, but your membership to Move Out Video has been canceled.
What? Look, I can pay for the $25 fee now, so it's all good.
Ooh, about that. You owe us around $120 now.
You're kidding me.
Nope. We found out the damaged DVDs in our return box was from you, and also you haven't returned a $50 Wii game.
Look, I already told you guys, I didn't scratch up those discs. They were like that when I got them. And I have the game at my friend's house. If you guys just give me some time, I can make this work.
I'm sorry, man, but until you can pay off the damages for those DVDs and also return the $50 Wii game, you're blacklisted from renting in our store.
Come on, Matthew, please. You guys are the only place I can rent movies in this area.
Sorry, man, there's nothing I can do for you. Have a nice day. Alright, now that's over with.
So much for that. Honestly, I wish I could just open up my own movie theater so I could just play all the movies I would want to.
Alright, so let me get you the anniversary discount and...
How do you open this door?
Ah, jeez. Steve, we told you, this section is for adults only.
But I want to see what's in there.
Well, you're not 18. Until you're 18 years old, you can't go in there. Now leave before I call your parents again.
Go fuck yourself.
Jeez, I swear that kid's gonna grow up to be a crackhead. Alright, let me ring you up.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cinemore Reviews. I'm here with Matthew, like always. And today we're talking about the Godzilla franchise from the beginning up until currently with Minus One.
Yeah, man, the Godzilla franchise. This year, the franchise turned 70 years old, which is just crazy to think. And also, I'm all decked out for this episode. This is an episode we've been wanting to do for a long time. Yeah, so I got all my Godzilla movies here. And also, I got the Criterion collection for the Showa era. I got this back in 2022. Like, check this out. All of it is art for all the Showa era Godzilla movies. And also, in the very back, and at the very back, there's fucking Blu-rays right here. All Blu-rays of the series. Like, this is badass.
It's one of the coolest Blu-rays I've ever seen. Like, I need to get my hands on it. I've been wanting to get my hands on it for a minute. It's just so fucking cool how they designed that whole thing.
Definitely. Also, I also have all the Godzilla DVDs I've been collecting since I was a kid. And one more thing, I want to show the people some Godzilla VHS tapes I own. Yeah, so anyways, we got King Kong versus Godzilla. The original one. We got Godzilla 2000 and motherfucking Godzilla versus Biollante, one of the best in the Heisei series. But yeah, guys, so yeah, but Godzilla, it's a franchise I've been in love with ever since I was a kid. I absolutely love Godzilla because I mean, as a kid, who doesn't love like giant dinosaurs like breathing fire and fucking beating up other monsters? I mean, that's awesome. You know, any kid would fall in love with
There's
that.
so much
Yeah.
to this franchise. I mean, you
Oh,
got like the
yeah.
whole Japanese, like where it started out, but then obviously you have the
Okay.
American Godzilla. There's so much to this franchise, and it's
Yeah.
honestly insane.
There is a lot. Trust me. As a longtime Godzilla fan, if you want to get into Godzilla, it could be a little rocky because you have the Showa era, which is movies from the 50s to the 70s. You got the Heisei era, which is movies from the 80s and the 90s. Then you got the Millennial era, which is 99 to 2004. Then you have the MonsterVerse movies, the new Japanese Godzilla movies, also the anime trilogy, other animated shows. It can be overwhelming, but I highly suggest watching James Rolfe's Godzilla for Beginners video if you're interested in getting into the original Japanese Godzilla movies.
I've
If
just
you're
been getting
interested,
into it recently, and yeah, there's a lot. There's a very lot.
yeah, yeah, and don't worry about continuity because a lot of it's not going to matter. But, anyways, about the franchise itself, like it's been going on. It's like one of the longest film franchises of all time with many different like twists and turns and stuff like that. But how it all started was these people who don't mind that. It's just my dog. Did you hear that?
No,
Oh, you didn't hear that?
it,
Oh,
it was
I guess he's not
Godzilla.
that. Oh yeah, it was just Godzilla. Okay, yeah, but how it all started was these people who experienced the the nuclear like bombs that were happening during World War II, like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They wanted to make a sort of like a monster that resembles the threat of those bombs that happened at the time. So they ended up creating Godzilla, who is a indestructible giant monster who is a mix between a like a dinosaur and a monster. I can't remember the two dinosaurs he was mixed between, but anyways, he was a metaphor for nuclear destruction. The first movie, the first Godzilla movie, it's downright depressing. Like it's extremely sad, and yeah, but. After the first movie, the franchise started to get more campy. It was more about like giant monsters fighting, and I mean, I love all that too, but
It's
I
nice
do
to have
also
a
love,
fun movie, right?
yeah, yeah, it's good to have fun Godzilla movies, but I also do like the more serious Godzilla movies, like the original Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One, which we'll get into that
Well,
soon.
like I don't mind me a good fun movie with just monsters like fighting or knocking down buildings. Like that's fun, but Godzilla really peaks his most when it's about the depressing story. That's why the original Shin Godzilla, and like you said, minus one, are, in my opinion, the best of the whole series.
Oh yeah, those three are definitely the best of the series. Definitely. I mean, I know I consider some of the Heisei movies the best in the series, like Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, Godzilla versus Destroyer, which was going to be the last one, but they decided not to do that.
It's just too
Uh,
vague.
yeah, okay, the best way to describe this franchise for any of the newcomers, the Showa series, except for the first movie, is very silly. The Heisei series is a little more serious. The Millennial series, it's just straight up experimental. In the current Japanese films, they're a lot more serious now. But the MonsterVerse ones, they're a lot more action packed. But yeah, this franchise has changed so much, and there's so many characters and other monsters we can get into right now. But we'll be here all day.
We'll be all there.
So
We'll just talk about Godzilla just for simplicity.
yeah, definitely. But I do want to name off some of my favorite characters in the Godzilla franchise. I want to name some of them off. So some of my other favorite characters besides Godzilla, definitely Mothra, King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mechagodzilla. Also Destroyer. Destroyer is really cool.
Mechagodzilla is some of the coolest designs I've seen in fiction. I love how Mechagodzilla looks. He's like the coolest fucking looking thing.
Definitely, man. Yeah, even his like first design in the 70s movies look really cool.
Looks really
Uh,
cool. It's like he's always
yeah,
just been a cool character to begin with.
the only design I wasn't a big fan of was the Heisei Mechagodzilla. That one kind of looks I don't know, it just looks
Cheap.
weird,
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it looks like it's made of plastic.
That's kind of like my thing with that era. It's like it's all right, but I'll get
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that.
No, I do have a problem with like the most recent iteration of Mechagodzilla and Godzilla versus Kong. That one, it just looked too I don't know, it just looked too janky to me in my opinion.
I'll get to
Uh
the MonsterVerse when we get there, but I'm very, very 50-50 on it, but I'll get to that.
okay. All right, well, let's start with our own personal history of Godzilla, so you can go first.
So my history with Godzilla, it's really strange. Now, it's not as interesting as Matt, because I mean, Matt's been a fan since I was a kid. I've always known about Godzilla when I was a kid because my grandmother, she had all the 50s Godzilla movies on VHS and all that. And I would sometimes watch and be like, oh, these are cool movies. And then 2014 came out, and I was like, you know what? This is a cool modern day Godzilla movie. But then when I got older, I'll get to it later. But then I kind of said, I don't really like this movie. It doesn't really hold up that well in my opinion. It's not bad. It's just really mid. But then I ended up getting into the history of Godzilla. I ended up watching James Rolfe's video on Godzilla and getting more and more into it. I was like, you know what? I gotta check out more of this franchise. So then I watched the 50s one. At the time, it was my favorite Godzilla movie, but then recently with Minus One, we'll get to that also in a bit. But once Minus One came out, I was like, this is like one of the best fucking movies I've ever seen. So I would say I'm a more recent Godzilla fan. It really started around COVID when I got into the series a little more. But once Minus One came out, I just was hooked and I wanted to watch more of this franchise. But no, really, it all started because how mid the 2014 movie was. But I'll let you go ahead though, Matt. Like your history behind it.
Okay. So this is going to be pretty long, so prepare yourselves. Okay, so here's my history about the Godzilla franchise. Give me one second. Do I have it on tape anywhere? Oh, yeah, I do. It's right here. Okay, so this is my history when it comes to the Godzilla franchise. Now, this is going to piss a lot of G fans off, but this was my introduction to Godzilla right here, this tape right here. Because I know a lot of people hate this movie. I know, but I have a soft spot for it. This is how I was introduced to Godzilla. So let me explain. So it all started when I was a little kid. I would say probably in the I'm trying to think here, probably in the early 2010s, probably like 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that. I love dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were, something I absolutely loved as a kid. I mean, what little kid didn't love dinosaurs?
Like Jurassic Park and all that. Which I
Yeah,
mean that's
like
another movie franchise, but I was hooked on that when I was a kid.
yeah, like Jurassic Park. So, my uncle brought this tape over of, Godzilla, and I fell in love with this movie. I thought this movie was like the coolest thing ever. And all seriousness, it's not a bad movie, but it's just this thing's not Godzilla. I mean, look at this.
It's more just like it was trying to be more appealing to like the 90s, like Jurassic Park type
Yeah,
dinosaur movies. Because the thing is, I mean, technically, Godzilla's a dinosaur, but not really, in my opinion. I mean, he's more of a
yeah,
beast. He's not like a dinosaur you would see like in a Jurassic Park movie. And I
yeah.
think that was the problem with
No,
Godzilla. It's not a bad movie, but it wasn't
yeah,
really Godzilla.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not a bad movie, but it should have been called something else. This is just not what Godzilla is. Because, I mean, he's smaller and weaker than the actual Godzilla. He doesn't breathe fire. And he also plants, like, eggs.
Mm.
So,
He was just more like a typical like scary dinosaur, not really like Godzilla like at all.
it's more of a remake of that old movie, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
That a
Like the
lot of
giant
people. You're
lizard.
not the only person to say that. A lot of people have noticed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's more like a remake of that, but also a fun fact, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, that was actually a big inspiration for Godzilla.
Really, I
Like,
did not know
yeah,
that.
it came out in '53, just a year before the original Godzilla.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I was saying, I fell in love with this movie, and then eventually, I was looking for the movie on Netflix because I believe my tape may have messed up or something, and I ended up discovering the old Godzilla movies. So the first real Godzilla movie I ever saw was one of the Showa Godzilla movies. I think it was Godzilla versus Monster Zero or Invasion of the Astro Monster or Monster Zero. Like the Showa era has so many different fucking
There's so
titles.
much to it.
Yeah, there's so many different titles, so we're not going to get into that. I just call it Monster Zero. That's what I call it. But yeah, the first official one I saw was Monster Zero. And at the time, it was cheesy. It was weird, but I became very interested. So I went on YouTube, started looking up, all these like Godzilla videos. And that's where I discovered James Rolfe's video. And I remember I binge watched the whole Godzilla-thon, and I'm like, man, I gotta watch all these movies. So I ended up buying, DVDs, renting the movie on like Amazon and stuff like that. And I turned into like a big Godzilla fan. And yeah, that's how I became a Godzilla fan. I remember my my parents bought me all sorts of toys and stuff. I mean, these are the toys I had since I was a kid. And also, you want to hear something funny?
What?
When the 2014 movie came out, my parents were actually at a theater, like right before, like when the trailers were still like, happening. Like they were at the theater and they actually saw like the trailer on TV. And the first thing that came to their mind was, "Oh, Matthew, like he's gonna want to see this movie." Now, unfortunately, I never got to see the 2014 movie in the theater, but I did see it on DVD once it came out on DVD, like a few months later. And I will say this, hold up, don't fall. Don't fall. Okay. I will say this, the 2014 one, it's pretty mid. Like, it's not really a Godzilla movie I would go back to, watch anytime soon. But honestly, it's a welcome return. Like, this movie is definitely a welcome return to Godzilla, but there's just a lot wrong with it, and they kill off the best character, Bryan Cranston's character.
My main issue with 2014, like I said, that was my, I guess you could say, introduction to the franchise. Now, I don't mind the movie, but when you compare it to like the best of Godzilla, it definitely isn't Godzilla's best. Like, it definitely is more falls in line with just being like that more fun, like action movie rather than, something like Minus One or Shin Godzilla, which has obviously a deeper meaning to it. Like, it's okay. It's not something
Yeah,
I would go back to like right now, but if someone had it on the TV and said, "Hey, you want to watch 2014 Godzilla?" I wouldn't mind it.
yeah, it's definitely mid. Like the characters are kind of just really bland, besides Bryan Cranston. But
I mean, that's how I
yeah,
feel about the MonsterVerse in general, but I mean, we'll talk about that as well.
like I think the MonsterVerse got better after Godzilla 2014. Once like Kong Skull Island started, that's when things started to like pick up. But yeah, we'll get into that when we get into that. But yeah, that's pretty much like my whole history of Godzilla. So do you want to talk about the recent movies?
Yeah, actually, since we brought up the MonsterVerse, we might as well talk about like the more recent movies with Godzilla, because I mean, there's two different sides. I mean, we have the Japanese movies over here with stuff like Shin Godzilla Minus One, but then we have America when it comes to the MonsterVerse. So I guess which one do you want to talk about, the Japanese side of Godzilla, or do you want to talk about the American side first with recent movies?
Okay, I want to talk about the American side first because there's just a whole lot I have to say. Now, I remember when I was still going to school a few years back, whenever people asked me, "Hey, you're a fan of Godzilla?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." And then they're like, "Hey, what movies do you like?" Or I said, "Oh, I love the Showa era, I love the Heisei era." And they're like, "What is that?"
They're probably more
Yeah.
just into the American.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're more into like the American movies. Like they didn't even like some of the people who said they're fans of Godzilla didn't even know anything about the Japanese movies, which that
That's
was
crazy
crazy
because
to
I mean
think.
that's where he originated from.
Yeah, but the problem is that a lot of like a regular movie goer is probably not going to be interested in the original Japanese franchise because like I will say this, like here's the thing. The original Godzilla franchise, like when they were still doing like rubber suits and stuff like that, yes, is it kind of cheesy, but the thing is, you need to get over that, is what I'm trying to say. It's something you got to get over and appreciate the story and just how fun it is,
Like it
And
was a
like,
product of its time. It really was. Because you don't see stuff like that these days. I mean, with all the
yeah,
CGI and stuff we see back then, there was no CGI at all. Like rubber suits. I mean, that was the norm for movies back
yeah.
then.
Like originally Godzilla was going to be stop motion, but they didn't have the money or the time, so they're like, "Hey, let's just do a rubber suit," and it worked. It worked very well, and that's what they did all the way up to Final Wars. They haven't like the Toho hasn't used like a rubber suit in 20 years now. So yeah, when I first saw like the trailers for Shin Godzilla, I thought they were going to use like a rubber suit again, but it was actually CGI, which is nuts to think. But as I was saying about the MonsterVerse, a lot of like newcomers to the franchise only know those movies, And it's just kind of sad to see. But besides that, as for the MonsterVerse itself, Kong Skull Island was really good. And Godzilla King of the Monsters, even though it was a financial, well, excuse me, not financial failure, even though it was a critical failure, it did pretty well.
It
I
did
really
pretty
liked
well.
it.
And I didn't mind
Oh,
it, Skull Island, I love that. I think honestly that's probably my personal favorite when it comes to the MonsterVerse, but if we talk about more of that, I'll probably get more into King Kong. But as for the second Godzilla movie in the MonsterVerse, it was alright. Honestly, I would say I might like it more than 2014. But once again, it's not something I would like seek out and watch constantly. But it was a good time, for a fun action movie. But then we got Godzilla vs. Kong from 21, which that was a cool event because that's when everyone was coming back from COVID. Theaters were starting to open up. So seeing Godzilla vs. Kong on the big screen, it was just so much fun. It definitely is one of those movies. It was just fun to see these two beasts just beat the shit out of each other again for the first time in what, like how many years since they last fought?
yeah, man, Godzilla vs. Kong was just fucking awesome. I remember when I first saw the trailer in 2021, I did a whole reaction video to it, and there was actually an option where you can watch it on HBO Max or go to the theater. I had to go and watch it in the theater. I'm not gonna watch this on fucking HBO Max. I'm going to the theater to see this. I don't care if I die from COVID. I had to see it on the big screen.
No, I agree. I fucking agree 100. That's what I did too. I was like, I'm not gonna go watch this at my home. I'm going to the theater. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of our friends, Taylor, actually watched it at home. Come on, Taylor.
He did that with Mortal Kombat as well. I was like, bruh.
You did it with Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
too?
I was like, no, man, I'm going to the theater.
Yeah, I went to the theater to see Mortal Kombat.
Fucking Gary,
Yeah.
I swear. Fuck you, Gary. I'm just-
Fucking Gary, man. Yeah, but all right, yeah, but one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to the MonsterVerse is the 2019 Godzilla movie. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I want to say one more thing about it. What I love about that movie is that this is the movie when they actually try to, it actually feels like a legit Godzilla movie, with the Godzilla theme song. They actually got the Godzilla theme in there, and also all these different characters and stuff, and all these different references to the original Japanese franchise. When I saw it in the theater, it felt like a real genuine Godzilla movie. And also when I heard the cover of Go Go Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult, I was just blown away. Even though the critics hated it, the G fans like myself absolutely fucking love that movie. So the 2019 one is great, but still my favorite is Godzilla vs. Kong. That movie's fucking dope.
Skull Island is probably my favorite of the MonsterVerse, but Godzilla vs. Kong is definitely a close second for sure.
Oh, do you want to hear something really cool?
What?
Have you seen the original King Kong versus Godzilla?
Yes, I have seen it. It's great.
Okay. You remember the scene in this movie where King Kong shoves a damn tree down Godzilla's throat?
Bro,
Yeah, they did a reference to that in Godzilla vs. Kong, where Kong shoves his battle axe down his throat.
they did. That was a reference. That's what I said. Godzilla vs. Kong, storytelling. There's not really that much going on, but just for being a fun movie for fans, it was a good time, a really good time.
Okay, now another thing we should talk about is also the recent Japanese movies. We should get into that.
Do you want to talk about before we get into the Japanese movies? Do you want to talk about the most recent one, which is Godzilla X Kong, or do you want to save that later?
We'll save that a little later once we're done talking about the Japanese ones.
Yeah, because the Japanese ones. This the 2010s was a really good era for the Japanese movies, but I'll let you
Yeah.
get started with that first.
Okay, so after literally 12 years of Toho not releasing any Godzilla movies, they finally released Shin Godzilla. And here's the thing about the Godzilla franchise that a lot of people might not know about. You see, each different iteration of Godzilla in the Toho franchise was all rebooted. Here's the thing. It started with Godzilla 1985 or The Return of Godzilla or Godzilla 84. There's so many titles. But anyways, when that movie started, it wasn't a remake. It was a direct sequel to the original. And a lot of movies after that started being like not necessarily remakes, but just direct sequels to the original Godzilla. But this is the first Godzilla movie that was a straight up reboot. And it changed a lot from what we know about Godzilla, because in this movie, he's not actually like a prehistoric monster that was awakened by nuclear radiation. He's a bunch of tadpoles that got mutated, from what I know, and then they start to form, kind of like a frog.
Yeah, it's kind
You
of
know,
like a frog when a tadpole goes from like a tadpole to a frog, right?
yeah, like the first part of this movie, he just looks very, very goofy, but later, once he gets to his final form, he looks badass and very scary. This is probably my favorite iteration of Godzilla of all time, like just the way he looks.
I watched this movie like during the pandemic because this is when I was trying to get into the franchise. Now, when I first saw this movie, I fucking loved Shin Godzilla. I felt like when it came to just being fun and storytelling, I loved it. Honestly, it was a good, nice just to see Toho make another Godzilla movie.
My favorite fucking scenes is when Godzilla does his like radioactive breath, but it's more intense. He's like literally he just starts destroying everything. Lasers come out of his back, and also the soundtrack to this movie is really
It's
good and
terrific.
kind of perfect. Yeah. Now one thing I will say about this movie that's kind of like it just sucks real bad about this movie is the human story, because here's the thing about a Godzilla movie. You'll have two sides of the human story. One is the government trying to figure out, how to stop Godzilla, and two is people who are unrelated to the government trying to, do their own thing, or they have their own separate story. But in this movie, it's all government. Like it's just the human scenes in this movie are pretty boring at
Pretty boring.
sometimes.
Well,
Which
that's
yeah,
one thing I've been critical. Like, I love Godzilla, don't get me wrong, but that's one thing I've always been critical at with a lot of the movies are the human characters. Because, obviously, when you're kids and all that, you all want to see Godzilla come out and wreck buildings and stuff, but then you see all the human characters, and a lot of the time, I just feel like some of the human characters can get boring or forgettable, which, it's not always the case, as we'll see later. But with this movie's case, unfortunately, it does fall under that. Like, the human characters are just kind of bland and boring. It's really
yeah,
Godzilla
exactly.
that steals this movie, though. Like, when you see Godzilla, he's awesome. But with the human characters, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's really just a bunch of people in suits talking and trying to figure out what to do. I mean, I would love to see the perspective from civilians, who are witnessing his destruction. That's something I would love to see, but like I said, most of it's just just people in suits trying to figure out what to do. But if you can like get through that, if you can get over that, you can definitely enjoy this movie. It's really good. It's a
It's a
really good
nice
film.
welcome back from Toho after, like, you said, what was it, 12 years since the last one?
12 years.
No,
Yeah,
it was a
12 years.
nice callback, and I think as a Godzilla movie, it's handled really well.
Yeah, yeah. And you want to hear something else crazy?
What?
Now, this is something I noticed. Like, I remember seeing the trailers, like, for this movie back in the day in 2016, and I was like, bro, history repeated itself, because when America made their first iteration of Godzilla, Toho couldn't stand for that. So only a year later, they made Godzilla 2000. And after that, history literally repeated itself, because in 2014, this came out, and only 2 fucking years later, this came out.
This
It's like
came out.
like Toho hates it when America makes their own Godzilla movies. Like whenever we make one, they're just like, yeah, we gotta bring him back.
I
Yeah,
think I think Japan, they just don't like, because Japan, obviously Godzilla is their baby, so when they see America make a movie, they're like, oh shit, hold on, we can't have them replacing us. We gotta bump out a movie.
yeah. And I'm gonna be real, Japan, they do a great job at making Godzilla movies. But the unfortunate thing is, for a lot of Western audience, it's really hard to see this movie in the theater, let alone trying to get the normal, like the general public, to appreciate these films. Because the general public, they don't really like foreign films, and also foreign films with Godzilla, Shin Godzilla's like effects and stuff. But all that changed when Godzilla Minus One came out. But during this time, lots of people just
It
weren't a fan
it
of
was
it.
still pretty niche for like people from the West to go see a foreign movie from Japan or any other place for that matter.
Yeah, definitely. It was still pretty niche. Well, anyways, all this aside, let's talk about the recent American film, which is Godzilla X Kong and New Empire.
I
Why did they call it Godzilla
I
X
don't know, and
Kong?
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like it, honestly. I really found it kind of boring.
Yeah, and just so you know, I collect every Godzilla movie on DVD. Godzilla X Kong, that's like the only one I still haven't, got on DVD. And the thing is, I don't think I really want it because it's kind of just, it's it's mostly a Kong movie, which isn't bad. But the thing is, it's really just, it's kind of just mid,
Yeah, it's
like,
really just bland. It to me, I would even say I was more bored watching that in 2014. At least with 2014's Godzilla, like it was a nice callback just to see Godzilla back on the big screen. But really, with this movie, it just wasn't really special because I mean, we already saw Godzilla versus Kong like 3 years prior, and obviously that was nice to see. But then after that movie came out, I think everyone was already satisfied with that. So then they come out with this movie, and I'm like. I don't know. I'm just not in. I'm not really vibing with it. I'm gonna be honest.
yeah, exactly. It's like they're trying to bank on the excess of Godzilla like versus Kong. They just like, well, since we got them in a movie together, maybe we should do another one and that'll be successful.
And
And
like with Godzilla being like a hero and all that, it's just like,
it's not
mm,
who he is.
I don't see Godzilla as like the superhero. That to me, that's not Godzilla, and I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah. Now, one thing I am really looking forward to, I know this is kind of off topic, but the one thing I'm very looking forward to is that there's rumors going around that we might get a remake, like a MonsterVerse version of Godzilla versus Destroya. We might get that.
If that's the
Now, that's something
case,
I'm
then
excited
maybe
for.
we have a chance at the MonsterVerse getting like interesting again. Because unfortunately,
Yeah.
Godzilla X Kong is just really bland. It's not once again, it's not a bad movie, but it's not something I would ever seek out or watch on my
Yeah.
own.
Exactly, definitely. But I just hope like the people who are, making these MonsterVerse movies will hopefully make that movie soon because that would be the perfect finale for the MonsterVerse series. That would be the icing on the cake to like, just give the series a rest because eventually, these new Godzilla movies will come to a rest and we'll have to wait like maybe another decade for a new Godzilla movie,
Yeah, and I mean
you know?
the MonsterVerse has been around for 10 years now, so I think just like one more movie like that can be a good way to just wrap up the whole MonsterVerse as a whole.
Yeah, because so far we have about so far like 4 movies now.
Which for a 10-year run of 4 movies, that's actually pretty good, all
Oh
things
yeah,
considered.
definitely. Yeah, that's definitely pretty good, but it's no match for Toho because in the '90s they were like releasing a Godzilla movie like I
ev-
think in the '90s every year.
every year, so it's like
Well, every year up to '95.
95.
'95 is when they supposedly killed off Godzilla, but that didn't last long.
No, but no, as a whole, like MonsterVerse right now, it's kind of just mid. Like it's all right. I mean, there's some good movies, obviously, in the MonsterVerse, but it's definitely not like my personal favorite of the Godzilla franchise. Now, I know for a lot of westerns, that's the only Godzilla they know, which that's fair. Like you can like anything you want, but I would definitely say if you really like the MonsterVerse movies and it's the only ones you've seen, definitely check out the rest of the franchise. You'll have a great time with it.
Yeah, exactly. I would like this. I would highly suggest at least looking through like the original Japanese films because like some of them are very good. Despite the effects being like pretty dated by today's standards, some of them are pretty good. But so I agree with you, man. Yeah, hopefully the MonsterVerse can get excuse me can get interesting again, and hopefully we can get like another good movie, like maybe like I said, a MonsterVerse version of Godzilla versus Destroyer. But that's
Right.
if they can get the rights, because like I heard it was pretty hard to get the rights for Kong.
Really?
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I mean it's like that's what I heard. Like it was hard for them to get the rights for some of the characters, like Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah. You know,
That's
but
interesting.
I mean, if they can do it with those characters, I'm sure they can do it with Destroya. I mean, we
Right.
haven't seen Destroya since like the '90s,
The
so it
90s.
would be really cool to see it again. All right, now with all of that aside, let's finally get into Godzilla Minus One. I
Minus one.
found this at Hot Topic. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking getting this.
This
So
is
get
the
in.
best Godzilla movie. Best dang Godzilla movie I've ever seen. Like this
It's
is the
the
movie that wanted me to get hooked on this franchise even more.
Yeah, like I remember going into this movie with like little expectations, cuz I honestly thought this was going to be like an average Godzilla movie cuz I heard this was going to be like a period piece that takes place a little after World War II. And I'm just like, "Oh man, they're going to try to like bank on the original again." And I wasn't expecting to, to love it all that much, but when I got out of the theater, I was like, "Holy shit. This movie is amazing." And I remember I was watching it with my dad. And when I got out of the theater, it wasn't only just my favorite movie of the year, it was now officially my favorite Godzilla movie of all time. Because, like I said, when I saw the reviews for it and people saying, oh, it was really good, I was just like, yeah, right, I'll check this out. And I was blown away. It's the best in the franchise. I love it.
No, I was the same way. Like when I saw Godzilla vs Kong, I was like, you know what, this is a fun, it's a fun movie. I had fun with it. But then when I watched Minus One, I was like, okay, this is probably gonna be another fun movie. I mean, it was still fun, but it was definitely more deep than I thought it was. I did not think it was gonna be this deep of a movie, but holy shit, it is fucking deep. And once it, like how we were talking about with Shin Godzilla, how the human characters don't mean shit in the movie. This is the first Godzilla movie I've seen where the human characters might even arguably be better than Godzilla himself in some aspects. The human
Definitely.
characters in this movie were terrific, like actually perfect.
Yeah. Now, here's one thing I do agree with James Rolfe when it comes to Godzilla Minus One. If you could take the scenes from this movie and take the human characters from Minus One and put them together, you'll have the perfect Godzilla movie. Excuse me. The scenes with Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One. Don't get me wrong. He looks great. He looks badass. The effects are awesome. But I don't know. There's just some things that I think they could have done just a little bit better. Maybe they could give him like a little more screen time or something like that. But still, it's still great. And also, one more thing. This is the first. Excuse me. Minus One is the first Godzilla movie that won an Oscar. Did you know that?
Yep, first one.
Yeah. Yeah, that is insane. Like this movie is so good it actually won an Oscar. And that is
And what I
insane.
love about this movie is, like I said, even though Shin Godzilla, I would say I prefer as a character over Minus One. What I like about Minus One and Shin Godzilla is when you see Godzilla on screen, you're fucking terrified. Like he's a fucking threat in this movie. Like he wrecked all the buildings, like fought, he almost killed someone's family. Like he is fucking terrifying, and that's something I don't really like about a lot of the American movies and some of the others is trying to make Godzilla like this hero that saves the day. No, that's not Godzilla. Godzilla is a fucking menace. He's a beast that is made to kill.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's a metaphor for nuclear destruction, and that's what Godzilla always was. He never was a hero. He was always meant to be a monster, you know?
And when you see him on screen in Minus One, you're scared when you see him. He's like, holy shit.
Yeah. Now I actually went to see this movie twice. The first one was, the regular screening. And the second one in January was Godzilla Minus One minus color. So I saw it in black and white. I remember seeing it with my girlfriend. My girlfriend was blown away. She was like, "Whoa, like that was fucking intense."
And that's what I
It's
like.
like,
Like when you have like all the government trying to like shoot down Godzilla in Minus One, you're just so excited to see it. Like it's terrific. It's a full-on terrific movie. I gave it a 9 out of 10 when I first saw it. Like I think it's that good of a
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, and like I said before the movie, my favorite film of the year was Oppenheimer before I saw that, but after seeing that, yeah, and honestly, some people were comparing it to Oppenheimer because it has like the both of the movies have themes with nuclear destruction, and a lot of people were making like Oppenheimer plus Godzilla minus one edits, which I think that's just the coolest thing in the world. Like the best picture, like two of the best movies, and people are going nuts about it. Like that is just awesome.
In my opinion, honestly, Godzilla Minus One might be my favorite movie of the decade. I mean, we're already only 4 years into the decade, but honestly, this might be the best movie of the past 4 years of 2020 so far.
Definitely,
Like it's
man. And
terrific. Like
yeah,
Oppenheimer is definitely a close second for me, but I would say I haven't thought about a movie this much other than Minus One. Like it's definitely the movie of the 2020s I thought about the most and watched the most. Like it's just that great of a movie.
All right, so now we're going to get into some spoilers because I think it's time to talk about the characters now. And just so you guys know, if you want to watch this movie in the US, unfortunately, it hasn't come out on any sort of home video, I think, except for like Netflix, right?
Yeah, Netflix. There is no physical media version of Minus One just yet in the US. I think in Japan they already have a physical media release, but not in the West yet. So if you have Netflix, go ahead. You'll be able to watch it on Netflix. Please though, if you do watch it on Netflix, watch it subtitled because there is a dub on Netflix, but it's not that great. It could be a lot
Really?
better. Yeah. But to
Oh
be
boy,
fair,
I might have to check that out
Netflix is
because
not
I
really
love.
Netflix is not really good with their dubs that much.
Okay, I love shitty dubs, so I'm probably gonna check
Yeah,
that
if you like
out.
the Squid Game dub, then it's basically as bad as the Squid Game dub.
Like,
But
here's the thing about me. Like, when it comes to Godzilla movies, I honestly prefer the dubs because growing up, that's how I always watched Godzilla movies. It was always in dub because I don't know. It's just I love the shitty dub for some reason, so I'm probably gonna check that
then
out.
if you're someone like Matt, definitely check out the dubbed version. But if you're someone like me that likes to watch it authentic, then I would say check out the subtitled version. Anyway, it's still a
Yeah.
great movie no matter what. But you
Okay.
want to get into spoiler territory though, because
Yeah.
this is your warning, guys. So go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so basically, the plot of this movie is about a World War II veteran coming back from the war to, post-war Japan, and, everything's in ruins, and his whole family is pretty much dead, but he ends up starting a new family by accident. He ends up meeting a girl who saved a baby, and they end up, staying in a house together and taking care of it. And eventually, whether the character likes her or not, he becomes a dad. But at the same time, he's still struggling with what happened on that island. What happened was Godzilla came to the island and he killed a bunch of people. And he did have a chance to try to stop him, because he went to like one of the helicopters, right? No, it was a plane. Excuse me, it was a plane. Yeah, and he was planning to shoot him, but he just froze. It was something he never seen before. So he just hid. He just hid, and yeah, and ever since then he really regretted it. And then later Godzilla comes back into his life. And another thing I really like about this movie is like the mental health awareness stuff. Okay, it's not really like awareness, but the getting to like his mental health, how it's actually driving him crazy because of like his really bad PTSD because of the war. It's driving him nuts, and he's starting to question what's real and what's not real. And watching those scenes, it's so like the actor who played the character, he deserves an Oscar because it's so disturbing and just depressing, because a lot of real war veterans go through that. It's just reality starts to blur. And once you see like your comrades die in battle, you're never the same person. This movie does a great job at representing that. In my opinion, in some ways, it does a better job than the original itself.
Way they handle PTSD from wars and trauma, it was handled perfectly in this movie. Like the main character in this movie, he's awesome. He's genuinely, in my opinion, like I said, in some aspects, I even like him more than Godzilla himself in this movie.
Yeah, I even like him a little bit more than Dr. Serizawa, which is like one of the main like people in the Godzilla franchise. You know who he is? The guy with the
Yeah,
eye patch.
eye patch, and he's done so terrific in this movie. And in my opinion, if for anyone that wants to get into the Japanese movies, I would say start with this one, honestly, if you want to get into it. Maybe check out the original from the 50s, but check out this one too if you're going to get into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and also another thing I like about this movie is the other characters, especially the professor. With the glasses. I think he's a really great character too. And they come up with such a new, fresh, interesting way to stop Godzilla. Instead of using like maybe like a bomb or something, they actually use pressure. Of the ocean. They're actually using like Godzilla's ability to go underwater against him, which I thought was just absolutely nuts. You know how like ocean has a lot of pressure?
Has a lot of pressure, and they use that against him. And when I saw
Yeah.
that when I was watching, I was like, that is like one of the coolest ideas you can do for a movie.
Yeah, it was so smart. It was so smart, and I was all for it. Because most Godzilla movies, the way to take him down was either with a giant monster or the military or some kind of like futuristic machine. But this one, like, they decided to just use the pressure of the ocean. Like, they used their wits to figure out how to kill this giant monster. The thing I love about this movie is that you see they're not able to get help from other countries due to like all the problems that were going on post World War II. So it's up to all these veterans who have to serve their country one last time, to stop Godzilla, and it's just really what's the best words to describe this movie? You know,
I would say
um,
like it's intent. Like when it comes to the
yeah,
intensity factor, like it's intense. Like when you see them trying to take down Godzilla, it's intense. Like it gets you thrilled. It's like, oh shit, are they gonna actually able to bring him down into the ocean? Like it's smart.
Yeah, and also another thing that really puts you on the edge of your seat is that the main character, he has to stay alive in order to take care of the girl he adopted. So you're on the edge of your seat wondering if he's actually going to die. Now, thankfully, he doesn't die in the movie. He makes sure that he has like a, what do you call those things?
Uh, I'm trying to think. What part are you what thing are you talking about?
It's like they get to ejected. It was like a ejector or something.
I think so. I might have to look it up, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Also, another thing I want to bring up about this movie is this movie only costed 15 million to make.
That is insane to think. That is so insane. So this is technically independent, sort of,
I mean,
sort of.
by technicality, but what I mean is, with most Hollywood movies, like Hollywood action movies in the United States, most of them are about like 100 to 200 million. This one's only 15 million. Like that is
Yeah,
insane.
that is pretty crazy. That's the same. Like I said, it's the same budget as an indie film in the U.S.
Like, let's look at the budget of like the most recent American one, Godzilla X Kong. That one was 135 million. This one's only 15 million. Like that is insane.
And
That
it's so much better.
I think it looks better. Personally, I prefer how minus one looks over X Kong. Like it's insane that how
Well, you also
Japan.
have to keep in mind. You also have to keep in mind Japan probably has a different economy than us. Maybe that could be the case as
That
well.
could be the case too, but just the fact that it's able to look good on that budget, it's insane. That's actually crazy.
Yeah. And another cool thing about this movie is that I think the director or the producer, I'm not really sure what role he had in the movie, but he actually posted a picture of himself at a screening for Godzilla Minus One with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, and actually
Yeah,
Spielberg talked about that. Spielberg has seen Godzilla Minus One, and he says it quoted, "It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen."
yeah, and if Steven fucking Spielberg says your movie is amazing,
Your
you
movie's
succeeded
really
as a
fucking good.
filmmaker.
This is Steven Spielberg we're talking about.
Yeah, the guy who made Jurassic Park, E.T., Schindler's List,
Indiana
Ready
Jones, like
Player,
he's made
list
all
goes
this
on.
movie. The guy who's arguably the face of Hollywood in the United States is saying that your movie from your country is amazing.
Yeah, the guy who made the first Hollywood blockbuster, Jaws, is saying your movie's amazing. That is something. That's something that it. I wouldn't know how to feel. I
The
like it
motto.
would
I
be,
don't think there's a thing as a perfect movie or thing, because I think everything at least has like one flaw or something. But the
of
flaws in
course,
this movie are so little, like so little, like microscopic that it's just it's nearly perfect of a movie. Like in my opinion, it's the
nearly.
best movie of the 2020s so far. I don't know if we'll get a
Yeah,
movie better than Minus One this decade, but I won't hold my breath. Like if this ends up being the best movie from 2020 until 2029, I will not be surprised by it.
yeah. I mean, hopefully on New Year's Day, excuse me, December 31st, 2029, we'll still say, hey, this is the definitive movie of the Godzilla franchise and the 2020s.
And I like how you brought up, like how you said foreign movies when Shin Godzilla came out was still pretty niche at the time. This is the first time, like I can even say this from personal experience, this is the first time where people from the West were interested in a foreign movie more than some of the movies coming out in their own country. When Minus One came out, a lot of people going to the theater to go watch it. Like it was hype
Yeah,
when it came out in the United States.
Yeah, I think the big reason why is because when Godzilla versus Kong hit the scene. Now, I will say this: Godzilla, King of the Monsters 2019, it was more of a hit with G fans and the fan base. But when Godzilla versus Kong came out, that was just a hit with everybody. It was like one of the highest grossing movies of that year. So I think that's what got a lot of like general people, like the general audience, into Godzilla. And I think that's one of the big reasons why Godzilla Minus One was such a huge success, because lots of people from the West are now finally getting into Godzilla. Because when I was growing up, Godzilla was, even with the 2014 one, it was still a very niche thing, you know?
Like
But
with the
now,
West, but now it's huge.
yeah, now I think the Big G has finally earned his respect. Maybe.
Like with the
I
West,
think he
because I
did.
mean, with the 2014 movie and like even like the 2019 movie, like they were popular, but they were mostly popular with fans of said movie or just Western moviegoers. But when
Yeah.
Godzilla vs Kong came out, Western fans were starting to get into the franchise. So they said, you know what? Let's check out the movies from Japan. So they got into that and they were like, holy shit, these are actually better than the American ones.
Yeah, so hopefully there could come a day where, like in the U.S., the original Japanese films, or at least the current Japanese films, will be just as popular as the American ones, and
And
that's something that
it's
I'm
a
excited to
terrific
see.
movie, and I say it to people. If you want to get into Godzilla right now, I'd say minus one. Honestly, I would say rather check out the 50s, the original Godzilla movie, or check out minus one. I would say just check out those two because they're
Yeah.
the greatest in my opinion.
Definitely, yeah. But yeah, what was I going to say? But yeah, I just want to say this real quick. Being a Godzilla fan, like way back then, before the internet, James Rolfe talked about this. It was really hard for a lot of people because if you said you were a fan of Godzilla, you'll get made fun of because the movies were campy and cheesy, and that's what people know them for because they only played the Showa ones on TV every now and then. But when the internet came around, that's when like lots of people were actually getting into it, but it was still a very niche thing. But now it's now a worldwide thing,
It's
which is really
worldwide
cool to
because
see.
like I said, it's an old movie. People with rubber suits. That's what it originally was. So if you said to people, "Hey, I'm a Godzilla fan," they're like, "You talking about the movie with the guy in a costume just going around in these tiny little mini buildings?" Like at the time that would be weird, but now I mean we have the internet, people talking about these movies, and it's starting to build up some momentum. But then now, like after the pandemic with Godzilla vs Kong, people are just invested into this whole franchise. Like Godzilla is really become just a main staple, not just for Japan, but for the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. Hope like it's now as universal as anime now, which is just awesome,
That's
to
awesome
think.
because to me, Japan. This is probably my like. I'm not the biggest anime guy. Like I'm not really that much into anime besides maybe like some Studio Ghibli movies. But anyway, um, Godzilla is probably my favorite entertainment to come out of Japan, no doubt about it. Like that, this is definitely my favorite thing to come out of Japan when
Oh
it comes
yeah,
to movies.
speaking of anime, I forgot to mention the Godzilla anime trilogy that came out in the 2010s. That trilogy absolutely sucks. Don't watch it. It,
I
it
have
it's
not heard anything good about it. Like I have not
yeah,
heard
yeah,
anything good about it. I haven't
yeah,
seen it
yeah.
myself, but I don't plan to at all.
Yeah, it absolutely sucks. I remember watching the whole trilogy for my Godzilla-thon back in the day, and I fucking hated it. The first one was missed opportunities, and the rest was just garbage.
No, and I
No.
would say I haven't seen it, but from what Matt's saying and what have I heard, don't watch it. Just skip
Yeah,
it.
there's no point. Yeah, but anyways, back to minus one. Well, I think we pretty much said everything we wanted to say
I
about
would
this
say just
movie.
go check it
Amazing.
out. I mean, it really is. Like I'm thinking about getting a minus one poster right there on my wall, right over
Oh
there, because
yeah.
it's just that great of a movie. I love it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, so if you guys have Netflix or if you want to, R that movie or something,
Or
you
if
know
you
where
want
I'm
to
getting.
import, if you have a region-free Blu-ray player, you want to import a Blu-ray copy from Japan, you could do that. I don't know when they're gonna release one in the West. I'm hoping soon because I really want to get a Western copy of Godzilla Minus One. So please release it soon. But
Yeah, like Toho, if you're watching this right now, just release the Blu-ray copy for the USA.
like I
Just
know
please do it.
Warner, I know like Warner has some problems because I know Warner owns the U.S. rights and all that, and there's some like stuff. But if you can, please release it to the West. We want it.
Well, maybe Crunchyroll can like help people, like they can actually help release it in the US.
Yeah,
Maybe
if you
they can
want to
do it.
release it, I mean, we have it on Netflix already, but if you want to like release it, like, please, I want a Blu-ray of this movie.
Yeah, yeah. So Crunchyroll, if you're watching this, come on, help us release this. I think Crunchyroll was Funimation, and Funimation is how this movie got released. So
Right.
yeah, I think it was.
You know
I
what?
think it
I'm
was.
trying to
I don't know.
remember, but yeah, but anyway, yeah, just please release it. Or like I said, just go on your Netflix account. I know this is coming from two people who prefer streaming. I mean, not streaming physical media.
Yeah,
No, but these are coming from two people who prefer physical media. Go on Netflix, check it out. Like
yeah.
it's great.
Okay, so you want to say some closing words for this episode?
I think the closing words I will say is Godzilla is definitely a weird franchise. Like it definitely started out big in Japan. You know, the first one, it was supposed to be satire of what was going around the time. And then it became just, your goofy fun series. Then America uh tried making their own twist. At first, it was kind of just more like generic dinosaurs. Then we get into the 2000s. Then we have MonsterVerse and Shin Godzilla, and then finally we're up to Minus One, which it's great to see how much this franchise has gone from the first one all the way up to now. That's all
Yeah,
I'll
like
say.
yeah. There's so many different iterations of Godzilla. Like the first one, it was very serious, and then the rest of the Heisei movies, he was a hero, like a goofy hero. Then, like I said, like not the Heisei, the Showa era. Fuck, sorry. So the Showa era, he was goofy. Heisei, it was more serious. Millennial era, experimental as hell. That's my favorite. I think that's my favorite era of Japanese Godzilla movies, the millennial era. But anyways, this franchise just took many different twists and turns. But after literally 70 damn years, I'm just so happy to see this franchise just come so far and finally earn some respect from the general public.
Absolutely. I will also direct Rolf's video in the description if you want to watch that, like just as a guide to watch
Yeah,
Godzilla. It's a pretty old video now, but if you want to like get into like the older movies, I'd say watch that before getting into the
yeah,
movie, so you kind of know like where to start.
definitely, definitely. Okay, well,
Well,
I pretty much said everything I wanted to say.
I think I got everything I wanted to say too. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you for the next episode, which is gonna be about horror movies. So
Oh
we'll see
yeah,
you
no,
next time.
yeah.
We're actually gonna have a guest appearance that episode, so you'll see him there. But until
Oh
next
yeah, and
time.
also one more thing. I wanna say this real quick. Speaking of horror movies, look out for something around Halloween. Something very special is coming up. I don't want to say what it is yet. I don't
I
because
don't want to
it's
say
still
what it is, but it's interesting. Just keep it in mind.
yeah, yeah. Keep it
Well,
in mind. There's something very special is coming up, so look out for that.
look out for that. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.
All right.
And there we go. I can't believe it, Mike. I'm actually finally opening up my own movie theater.
Congratulations, my dear friend. When's the grand opening?
Grand opening is in 2 days, my friend. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time now. In this town, to watch the new movies, you would always have to go to that video store. There was no theater or anything. But we're gonna change that for the better.
Meanwhile,
Come on, Dad. Please don't close the store. I love this job.
Son, I love this job too, but we barely have enough customers, and I'm getting older. I've been keeping this place open for 19 years, and it's time I retire. I'm sorry.
Wait a second, Dad. How about instead of closing this place down, you let me own the store?
Wait, really? You want the store?
Yeah.
Why?
Because, Dad, this place is a big part of my life, and I spent a good chunk of my childhood here, and I'm not ready to let this place go yet.
You sure you want this place? It's a lot of hard work.
I'm willing to do all the hard work needed to keep the store running. I love this job.
Sure, fine. Tomorrow, you can have the store.
Alright, thanks, Dad.
Once I give the store over to you, I'm gonna go into retirement.
Alright. Yeah, you could go into retirement, and I can own the store.
Alright, son. See you later.
Alright. Oh, God. Can't believe it. I'm gonna own the store. but I gotta get people to care about physical media again. Ever since Netflix and Hulu's been taken over, people rarely come into the store. And also, wait a second. Oh my gosh, there's a movie theater! Dang it. Looks like we got competition now. But I'll make sure to try to keep the store open for as long as I can. I just gotta get people to care about physical media. Okay, I can barely see this DVD. What the?
Hey, I just want to go into the adult section.
Steven, we told you, you can't go into the adult section.
I just turned 18.
Okay then, knock yourself out.
Time to see that Asian shit.
Huh. What the? Is that a bomb?
You know, is that video store even still open now? I'm gonna go check real quick, because there's no way. Let me check. It's still open, and now there's police in the parking lot. Nice.
Interesting.
Anyways, now I just need someone fine to help manage the theater.
Maybe I can help you out with that.
You know what, Mike? I think you're the one. I can't believe it's been 8 years since we opened up the theater. Hey Mike, are we all set to premiere The Last Crusade?
We are having internet issues at the moment.
What? Well, the drugstore is going to be closed that day, so we can't use their Wi-Fi.
You'll just have to get another disc.
I think I know who to call. Alright, I'll be right back, Mike, okay? I'm gonna go call him.
What the hell?
Alright, let me give him a call.
What am I gonna do? Move out video, what do you want?
Hey Matthew, do you have a copy of The Last Crusade on DVD? Tomorrow it's the 8th anniversary of the theater and we're having internet issues again.
Oh, yeah, I think I have a copy somewhere.
Hey, you okay, Matthew? You sound really upset.
Look, Braylon, the reason why I'm upset today is because, well, we only have one customer now, and he's in jail, so we literally have no business in the store. And I have all these bills that are piling up, and I just can't afford to keep this place open anymore. I can't do it.
Oh.
I hate to say this, but I might need to close the store soon. Right now, me and my girlfriend can't even pay our rent, and I can't do this, man.
Maybe I can help you out, Matt. I mean, I can... What the f***?
Braylon? You there? Braylon? 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 Braylon, are you there?
Hey, you were expecting maybe the Addams Family?
Well, that's just great. Braylon is missing. You know what? Today, I'm just going to sit back, relax, and watch some TV. What? Since when did I get a flat screen?
Sean! Perfect.
I love this episode.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Breaking news. A vicious radioactive dinosaur is loose in Small Town. We advise all the residents of the county to stay indoors and arm themselves.
Yeah, whatever.
If any of you are willing to capture this beast, there's going to be a $15,000 award. That's all for today. Stay safe.
Alright. If I can get this 13K, I can pay off all my debts and keep the store open. Alright. Time for the bait. No reptile can resist Taco Bell. Come here, lizard, lizard, lizard. Come on. Here, lizard, lizard, lizard. Got some Taco Bell. Oh. Oh no. Oh. Please. Don't. Please don't.
Wait, is that Taco Bell?
You like Taco Bell?
Fuck yeah, I love Taco Bell.
Okay, yeah, just, here, you can have it. Just don't rip me in half.
Man, this is gonna be so good. Where the hell is the mild sauce?
I didn't get any.
No mild sauce!